All right, KB, what is going on in your life today, this virtual world we live in? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm just trying to get used to the fact that I have an office upstairs, and I think got three assistants that work with me. The problem is one is four, one is three, and the other one is one. So the chance to get work done is pretty challenging. But no, it's been good. Been able to put myself on a schedule with the kids, and being able to go down for lunch and at home for dinner, and really at home in the morning when they wake up. But it's been good. It's been good. I can't
Yeah.
complain.
Well, you guys are implementing a new offense.
Hmm.
What can you tell Husky fans might be the most tangible differences with John Donovan's scheme and run game versus the last couple of years?
I would say tangible differences. I think um, what we're going to see as far as run game is going to be still your inside zone, your powers, and things like that. I do like the fact that it's going to be NFL based, so quarterback underneath the center. We will still do things from gun, and just the opportunity to take shots down the field. And I think the one thing that's going to remain as the central theme in this offense is we're trying to put our best players in position to make big time plays. And I think the thing that John Donovan brings is kind of that NFL attitude where we are going to try to get guys in bad situations, and at the end of the day, really expose defenses when it comes to our play during the season.
Yeah. Well, speaking of your players, the stable's loaded this year. You got some guys coming back. The question I always get is, who's going to be the starter? And it's funny, again, one of the great things that I really respect about you as a coach is, different guys start. And for me, it's never about the bell cow. It's kind of like the guy who has the hot hand in the fourth quarter seems to be toting the rock for you. And with all these guys, McGrew and Newton and, Cam, I mean, you're loaded this year. Is there going to be a starter, or is it going to be more by committee?
You
Answer it for
know,
me, because I'm tired of that question.
no, I wish I could. I wish I had a better answer for you. So you're gonna have to keep answering that question. The thing is, I really feel, over my years of doing this, I've been fortunate enough to be in contact with some really good rooms of running backs. And like you said, coming into this year, you got Richard Newton, you got Sean McGrew, you got Kamari Pleasant, you have Cam Davis, all guys that have touched the field and done something. I mean, Cam Davis, if you want to talk about it, I think he has 3 carries, 2 penalties. One was two holding penalties, 1 touchdown. So he's
But
touched
didn't
the
he
ball.
start the Vegas Bowl for you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's played. So it's like you think about that, and I think it's all about getting guys opportunities so they feel involved in the offense. And I think you're trying to really play guys to their strong suits. To say the most veteran guy as far as when it comes to playing coming back this year is Sean. And, I'm really excited about Sean. He's taken a step really the past 2 years, really just kind of working hard in the weight room, being more dialed in when it comes to meetings, and then the way he prepares during the week at practice. And I don't know if, as a coach, I see a little bit more because I see him during the week at practice, but hopefully the Husky fans have been able to see him kind of take that progression as a player during his time going into his senior year. Same thing with Kamari. Kamari is kind of our utility knife. The thing about Kamari, he's been able to, fit in different places. He's a guy on Wildcat blocking. He catches the ball, had some big catches, in the past, had a big catch against Utah, had a big catch against Oregon a couple years back. And, he's been one of those guys you can put in on protection, and he does a good job. And then obviously this past year, Rich coming into his redshirt freshman year, and, we knew we had something good with Rich. I knew it when I was recruiting him. And then, his first carry against Eastern Washington, he busts for 20, 30 yards. You're like, oh, this kid's going to be pretty good. and it just kind of compounds. But even with him, with the stuff that he's done, he's still a young player with so much potential. And then obviously I just talked about Cam Davis a little bit. He had 2 carries against Oregon. One he hit for about 8 yards and got a holding call on somebody, and then had about 3 carries against Boise State in the Vegas Bowl and, scored and then got called back because of holding. So we're really excited about this group. I'm excited with just their mindset. I think the thing that I really take my hats off to the running back group or the stable right now is just the camaraderie we have in the room. There's not a bunch of guys. They cheer for each other. They help each other out on the sideline at practice. And I just think, running back is naturally a position where you can be really selfish. And I think the guy that kind of paved the way for that was Myles. Mm-hmm. He was always cheering for the other guys to get into the game or asking, when we had Ralph Kinney here, can Ralph get in and things like that. So I really, the culture of our room, I think is what makes it so special.
Well, yeah, you just do an unbelievable job of keeping all those guys happy, keeping them engaged. I can remember there's games where, Levon is getting more carries than Myles down the stretch here. And you think a guy like Myles might be, pissed off or whatnot. But that's not easy to manage all those personalities. And you do that. What is your secret?
I think the one thing that, that would be kind of the bloodline in this program or part of our DNA, as probably is a better word of saying it, in our program is you got to be honest with your guys in your room. And you're going to have hard conversations. Like, if this guy's rolling, he's going to play more than you. Or if you're not doing good enough, I don't care. You're not doing good enough. And the next guy gets a chance to roll. And I think the more you have those kind of conversations, when you get into the heat of the battle and they understand that, we both have responsibilities. I have my responsibility as a coach to the team and to the rest of the coaches. You guys, you have your responsibility as a player to the team and to the room, that team unit me that we like to talk about. I think it's understood that, okay, this guy is playing better than me right now. Let me go ahead and cheer him on, because the better he does, the better we look as a group, as a team. And then if we keep rolling, maybe I'll get a chance to get back in there and play.
Yeah. And just that competitive, it brings out the nature, brings out the best in all of them. Mm-hmm. I imagine one of the tough conversations you probably had this offseason was with Savon.
Oh, yeah.
Who, but he lands with the 49ers.
Yeah.
How do you think that's going to work out for him? And again, I don't need to dive too much into it, but that conversation when a guy should go pro or not, it happens in your room a lot, almost every year.
Yeah. Obviously, I think Savon is going to do some great things. I think he's an unbelievable talent, and he's a great kid, and he cares. He really wants to be a special player, and he had his opportunities of being a special player with us, and then the Husky fans were able to see him do some special things here as a player. I think you try to encourage without discouraging, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And, my conversation with him was like, I think you do have, the talent to play at the next level, but I don't think right now is the time for you to do that. And I'll kind of give you a brief history of, Savon. He played a little bit as a freshman, kind of like your gadget guy, and did some good things, in the Fiesta Bowl when we played Penn State. And really throughout the season, I shouldn't just leave it on the Fiesta Bowl. And then kind of the next year, he played a little bit more running back, because Myles was still here. I'm talking about his sophomore year. And really this past year, his true junior year with, really his opportunity, to start emerging as the guy in the running back room. He played decent, but he really started to come on in the second half of the season. And when I talked to him, I really felt, and, people that know football, will understand this. I felt like he was a second string guy or a number two guy. I shouldn't say second string, that was really emerging as a number one big heavy hitter running back at the second half of the season. He scored 3 touchdowns in the Vegas Bowl or whatever it was. He had a big game the year before in the Apple Cup. And the thing is, I felt like one more year, you can start kind of, you already got the dust off. Now we can start polishing our skills, in pass protection, in the run game, and just having a better feel of yourself out there. So I just felt like, in order for him to maximize and really elevate himself to the best of his potential, another year would have been better. But even with that long conversation, I still come back and say, what you have to do what's best for you, because this is not a decision for Keith Bhonapha.
Right.
This is not a decision for really the University of Washington or the University of Washington fans. It's not a decision for your teammates. It's a decision for you. And the last thing I want a guy to do is to make a decision and then regret it because he listened or was influenced by me. So I really hope the best for him. I think the thing is, just with where, being an undrafted free agent, it's an uphill battle. But, the thing about our program is bred on competition. So you better be ready to compete or you won't make it.
Right. Yeah. And how is our friend Myles doing there down in Miami? You keep quite a bit.
Myles is Myles is he is funny. It's just one of those things where you kind of go back and you remember recruiting him when he was in high school at O'Day, and you're hearing about this kid and I remember watching this film and I'm like, yeah, he's pretty good, but I'm at the University of Washington. I'd love to get a bigger running back than this dude. I just came from Boise State and I had bigger guys than this guy,
Right.
And then, you watch his film, it's like, okay. And then, I think that same year was a kid that was playing running back out of Washington was Austin Joyner was the same year.
Yep.
And I'm like, I really like Austin. He's big. He's fast.
His high school tape was impressive.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so then, it's typical Myles. You're recruiting him. You talk to him on the phone. It's like quiet, but he's talking, but he's not really saying much. Right. And then, his parents come over. And the next thing you know, he's like, oh, yeah, I'm coming to the University of Washington. Like, it's not even a big deal. That's Myles.
Right.
And then, he gets here and you put him in and, he continues to get better and better. And you're like, am I making this up or is this dude like good? And then you put him in with the ones in fall camp and next thing you know, he's doing the same thing. And, I think about him and Jake Browning's first game and, the first two plays, if you go back and watch the film, the first time he didn't get the signal off the sideline. The second time the ball gets snapped and it's not even supposed to get snapped and Jake just hands Myles the ball. And I'm like, we got the Keystone Cops in the backfield right now. So I take him out and then, he sits for a little bit and then we go play, I want to say it was Sac State and he went off. And then, it just next thing you know, he's in against Oregon and he's going off and he kind of just Myles 4 years later. All-time leading rusher in UW history. And I think you kind of seen the same thing with his NFL career. Undrafted or, seventh round or wherever it was. And you're not really hearing much from him. Then he kind of gets into the second half of the season and, he scores a touchdown here, touchdown there. And now they're talking about playing him. And it's like, oh, yeah, they like this guy. That's Myles.
He's a football player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. My last question for you. It's kind of interesting in this day and age. In the old days, everybody wanted to be Walter Payton, Earl Campbell. You wanted to play running back.
Right.
I mean, now it's like, I kind of thought of this as you mentioned Austin Joyner. So many of these kids see the NFL draft and running backs don't get drafted in the first round anymore. How do you perceive that with the kids you're recruiting today? Are you seeing that out there when you visit high schools or the best athletes? They want to be a corner or, I got to be a receiver now. Where's this going at the running back position?
That's a good question. It's interesting. The guys that I've been fortunate enough to recruit, they really want to play running back. But you do see it. I mean, it is definitely a hard pill to swallow when, the first running back is taken, number 31 or 32. Obviously they had a freakazoid a couple years ago with Saquon Barkley, how early he was taken.
Zeke Elliott, I think.
I've been fortunate enough to have coached the first round draft pick running back, during my tenure as coaching. But I will say, when in this recruiting phase of it, I always ask that question. Now, do you want to play running back? Because me and you both know, Damon, running back is a tough position.
Oh, man. I
mean, you are getting hit or you're having to block. You catch the ball, you're getting hit. You run the ball, you're getting hit, and it takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
But I think the mentality of the guys that I am recruiting, these guys are tough kids. They remind you of old school boxers where they take pride in being able to tote the luggage for their teammates and for the team. So is there a trend? Yeah, there probably is. But when you're looking for the guys that we want as dogs, we don't have any problems finding them.
I love it, man. Yeah. Well, KB, always great catching up with you, pal. You guys stay safe. And, what any last message for Husky Nation? I know you can't wait to get going again here.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say is we really appreciate all you guys' support, especially during this trying times. And I think the one thing I will want you guys to know, Husky Nation, that I know there's plenty of families that are affected by this pandemic, and we're praying for you guys because I know it's not easy for anyone. And hopefully we get back to some version of normalcy here soon. And we really appreciate your support of the Dogs, and the Dogs support you guys, and we're thinking about you. And let's go get after it.
All right, brother. Thank
All right.
you.
All right. Take care.
You too, stud. Talk to you
All right.
soon.